Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Marcus Street in Corning, and we have an exciting show. It's just you and I this morning, but we have a lot to cover. We're going to tell you about some upcoming events as well, so get ready for that. First, let's kick it off with viewer comments. Mark writes in, good morning. Well, good morning, Mark. Oh boy, this is a big one, he writes. I saw an ad by the Democrats telling the military you don't have to follow illegal orders. Then I saw a clip where Trump said the Dems that said this should be arrested and sentenced to death. They certainly made Trump mad, and that is probably what they intended to do. Yes, we're going to get into that. The media, of course, jumping on what the president had to say. We'll be mentioning that as well coming up in a little bit. A couple of quick updates before we get into that. Epstein, there's a really interesting take by David Hersani about the Epstein saga. We'll talk about that. Some New York State issues. First, the Department of Justice subpoenaed the personal phone records of House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan back in 2002, seeking Jim Jordan's phone data covering a more than 2-year period. The subpoena, obtained by Fox News Digital, shows a federal prosecutor who later worked on special counsel, you guessed it, Jack Smith's January 6th investigation, ordered Verizon to hand over the phone data, also known as toll records, reaching back all the way to January 1st, 2020. The request appears to be the most expansive yet of the publicly known subpoenas targeting senators and current and former House members during Arctic frost, the investigation that led to Smith bringing election-related charges against President Trump. Smith did not begin working as special counsel until 7 months after the subpoena was issued, meaning the request predated his time at the DOJ. The subpoena for Jordan's records appears to be one of the first known ones in the Arctic frost probe and was issued during a time when Jordan was serving as the top Republican on the Judiciary Committee, which conducts oversight of the DOJ. His role at the time is illustrative of Republicans' sharp criticism of the Arctic frost subpoenas as they claim the request for Congress members' records breached the separation of powers, including under the speech or debate clause. The toll records did not include the contents of Jordan's phone calls or messages, but did include details about when calls and messages were sent and received and whom Jordan was communicating with. The subpoena sought records for 3 other phone numbers, which were redacted. It included a 1-year gag order signed by a D.C. magistrate judge. Jordan is the latest in the string of lawmakers to have recently learned that the DOJ sought their toll records as part of Arctic frost. Kevin McCarthy, you had Chuck Grassley, Lindsey Graham, Marsha Blackburn, Ted Cruz, Ron Johnson, others. Smith has said that his investigation into the January 6th riot and 2020 election was consistent with DOJ policies and that the subpoenas he was involved with sending were entirely proper and narrowly tailored. Verizon produced documents for the DOJ in response to the subpoenas pertaining to Jordan. Verizon spokesman Rich Young says, as part of our investigation, we uncovered new information regarding Chairman Jordan and shared it with him as soon as possible. We are committed to restoring trust through transparency and will continue to work with Congress and the administration as they examine these issues and consider reforms to expand notification protection. So that's an update on kind of the Arctic frost investigation. Oh, yesterday, and this is from our friends at the Hornell Sun. Go to the Hornell Sun's website, hornellsun.com. They do a great job there. It's not just Hornell. It's covers I've seen things in there, Corning, Addison, like that. Well, they brought the story of law enforcement responding, and this is troubling, to a broken window at the private residence of Congresswoman Claudia Tenney. No one was inside the home when it occurred. It says no one was inside. The home was injured, Law enforcement and the U.S. Capitol Police are actively investigating the incident. They say no motive is clear at this point. I think we probably have an idea. Well, again, Congresswoman Tenney issued the following statement. This incident at my residence in Washington was disturbing and unacceptable. I'm grateful that no one was hurt, and I want to thank law enforcement for their rapid response and continued efforts to keep our community safe. Violence, intimidation, and attacks against public officials or their families have no place in our society. I will not be deterred from doing my job on behalf of the people of New York. So good for Claudia Tenney for standing strong. Scary situation, as we've seen threats made. Congressman Langworthy's office. It's a troubling time, and we'll tell you about some protests and some of this anger coming from the left, this violence coming from the left here in just a little bit. But I got just quite a few quick updates that there's no way to segue through. About 776 air traffic controllers who had to work without pay during the record shutdown will receive the $10,000 bonus that President Trump suggested. Because out of 10,000 air traffic controllers around, give or take, the 776 that received the bonus are the only ones that had perfect attendance. Now, you got to feel bad for the one guy that maybe his alarm didn't go off one morning or had an upset stomach or something like that and missed the day for a legitimate reason. But of the rest, 776 had a perfect attendance out of over 10 or around more than 10,000 air traffic controllers. A number of controllers started calling out of work as the shutdown dragged on longer than a month as they dealt with the financial pressure of working without a paycheck. Some of them got side jobs, but others simply couldn't afford the child care or gas they needed to work. Their absences forced delays at airports across the country and led the government to cut some of their flights at 40 busy airports. Trump suggested the bonuses for those who had stayed on the job in a social media post, but he also suggested that controllers who missed work should have their pay docked. Federal Aviation Administration officials haven't publicly announced plans to penalize controllers. Sean Duffy said the bonuses acknowledge the dedication of controllers who never missed a shift during the 43-day shutdown. Duffy said these patriotic men and women never missed a beat and kept the flying public safe throughout the shutdown. The National Air Traffic Controllers Association union said only 311 of its members will receive the bonus, so some of the money must be going to the managers. The union said these workers with perfect attendance deserve recognition, but so do others. Quote, "We are concerned that thousands of air traffic controllers who consistently reported for duty during the shutdown, ensuring the safe transport of passengers and cargo across the nation while working without pay and uncertain of when they would receive compensation, were excluded from this recognition. More than 311 of these dedicated professionals were instrumental in keeping America moving." Now, Democratic Representative Rick Larson questioned why all the controllers and others who worked to keep flights moving during the shutdown won't get bonuses. He said, for the Trump administration to not give a bonus to every single one of these hardworking men and women is wrong. They all deserve a bonus and back pay. Well, of course they're getting their back pay, but if you called off for maybe a week, do you receive a bonus for that? The controllers union said they hope to work with Duffy to find a way to recognize all the other air traffic controllers who worked during the shutdown. So there is your update on the $10,000 bonus if you are a part of air traffic control and you're watching this program. Hopefully you were one that received the 10 grand. Now, how am I doing here? We're doing just fine. Okay. Oh, as an update from yesterday's program, a federal grand jury properly voted on the indictment of James Comey in September after prosecutors mistakenly told a judge that not all jurors saw the final version of the charges. That's according to a new court transcript. Interim U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan submitted the transcript the day after a tense hearing in Alexandria, Virginia, during which she had indicated only the foreperson and another grand juror handed up the indictment to U.S. Magistrate Judge Lindsay Valla. But a court filing for the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Eastern District of Virginia noted the transcript of the September 25th proceeding before Valla conclusively refutes that there was an issue with the process and established that the grand jury voted on and true-billed the two-count indictment. Now, this has been kind of a rough back and forth and just a kind of a rough overall event, if you will, for Lindsay Halligan, the interim U.S. Attorney, some calling for her ouster. Any assertion that the grand jury never voted on the 2-count indictment is contradicted by the official transcript, Halligan's team responded, directly contradicting claims that Comey's defense team in court that the charges were void. On September 25th, the grand jury voted on 3 counts against the former FBI director, 2 for making false statements to Congress, and 1 charge for obstructing justice. But one of the false statement charges wasn't returned by a majority of the 23-member panel. The grand jury foreperson told Judge Vala it was the very first count that we did not agree on. And the count 2 and 3 were then put in a different package, which we agreed on. A clerical error caused by the redrafting of the indictment also briefly confused the magistrate judge's understanding of what had occurred during the grand jury deliberation, but it was quickly resolved. So you voted on the one that has 2 counts? Vala asked. Yes, the jury foreperson affirmed. Halligan and Assistant U.S. Attorneys Tyler Lemons and Gabriel Diaz in Thursday's filing wrote that the transcript confirms the court's recognition that the 2-count true bill is the valid operative indictment. The complete record eliminates any doubt. The foreperson confirmed the vote. The court acknowledged the vote. The court docketed the 2-count true bill as the operative indictment. Only count 1 lacked concurrence. Counts 2 and 3 were true billed by at least 12 jurors. So there you are. There is your update. A little wonky there, but you get it. All right, we're going to talk about some protests that happened. J.D. Vance speaking at an event held by Breitbart. Some interesting things that he had to say. We'll talk about that later on in the program. A couple things about the Democrat Party in general. Of course, today is the big meeting between President Trump and Mayor-elect for New York City, Zohran Mamdani. We'll tell you a little bit about what's being said about that, but of course, it's a meeting coming up today, later on, so we don't have a lot of information, but we'll tell you everything that we have. Thing here about Bruce Blakeman, who's kind of being the fly in the ointment, if you will, for the gubernatorial race, as Elise Stefanik has already declared that she is running on the Republican ticket. And now you have Bruce Blakeman, who is, I guess, trying to play spoiler in a primary, but is not officially declared. It's kind of an odd situation. He tells people, because he was elected just a couple weeks ago for a full term for Nassau County executive, people putting their trust in him, that he would do a good job as executive. He gets the job and now says, never mind. I might want to run for governor. A really interesting scenario. We're going to talk a little bit about him and a little bit about what's being said about the gubernatorial race. But we got to take a short break. Stay with us. We are just getting warmed up on this Friday morning edition of Frankly Speaking. Stay with us.
You don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Was a veteran and she was injured in the line of duty.
I hurt my leg in a training accident when she was only 2 years old.
She had 7 different surgeries over the span of 9 years, and there were tons of complications.
I couldn't be the mom my kids needed me to be.
She missed so much.
After my last surgery, I got an infection so bad I thought it was going to kill me.
I told her she couldn't leave me yet. There was still so much she had to see. I hadn't even graduated.
I'm doing much better now. I'm an active part of my kids' lives.
She can kick a mean soccer ball.
DAV's been there for me and my family. Through thick and thin, they've had our back.
Every year, DAV helps more than 1 million veterans like Sandy get the health and disability benefits they've earned so they can achieve victories great and small.
My victory is getting my life back. I may have lost my leg, but I've gained so much. I got my joy back.
We got our mom back, thanks to DAV.
Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the southern tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. news on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business, pardon me, business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, as I do show prep throughout the morning. I just found this piece, in case you're preparing for Thanksgiving. The New York Times put together 61 hot takes to fight about at Thanksgiving. This is a trend that started, I want to say it was the very early days of Trump's first term, where there would be articles about how to talk to your crazy uncle about his support for Trump. And then it got even more aggressive, where it was basically don't go, and I can't remember who said it. There was an article, or it was one of the people on The View maybe, that said don't even go to Thanksgiving if someone there is a Trump supporter. Basically encouraging you to break up your family, break up relationships if someone is a Trump supporter. So I kind of watched the progression of it get worse and worse. But I remember that first time I read what you need to do to talk to your crazy uncle. Well, these are a little more kind of generic, suggesting invite somebody you don't like. Everyone should wear name tags. These are things to argue. You're not going to change anyone's behavior or beliefs during a Thanksgiving meal, so don't try. Put an ashtray out on the porch for Uncle Steve, and don't blink when Cousin Ellie opens a third bottle of wine. That said, let's not talk politics. It all goes back to politics. But the next person writes, go ahead, talk politics. Wow, there are so many of these. I don't want to go through them. I just, this intrigues me that's now a standard article that we get once a year around Thanksgiving. Sometimes they'll push it and give you a Christmas one too, about basically how to destroy your relationships because of politics. But let's continue with other more important topics. President Donald Trump yesterday met with recently freed Israeli hostages at the White House just over a month after a historic Middle East peace deal that has thus far secured the release of the remaining living and 25 of the 28 deceased hostages who were held captive by Hamas. Trump hosted the freed hostages in the state dining room in the afternoon, shortly after Karen Levitt's press briefing. He said, "You're not a hostage anymore. Today, you're heroes. It's an honor to get to know all of you. I know some of you already. I know some of the previous hostages that we got out very well. We love you all, and our country loves you all, and the world is watching, and really, you're amazing people," said the president. He also gave each of the freed hostages his presidential challenge coin. Now, this comes off the heels. I don't know if you saw this yesterday. I hate to even report these, but we have to. An anti-Semitic mob descended on a historic New York City synagogue, urging, quote, the resistance to take another settler out, end quote. One anti-Israel protester yelling, "Mamdani era has already begun." Now, we know that was a real concern, and there's been pieces about how the Anti-Defamation League and some of these other groups really did a disservice to the people of New York City, not fighting harder against Mamdani. Mamdani, not until recently denouncing, I don't even know if he ever fully denounced it, globalized intifada. We know that he had been and had said some very anti-Semitic things. Well, a hateful mob of anti-Israel protesters descended on a prominent New York City synagogue Wednesday night, chanting "globalize the intifada" and sinisterly, that's a weird way of putting that, urging the resistance to take another settler out. Some 200 demonstrators, this is not on college campuses, folks. This is in the streets of New York City. Some 200 demonstrators gathered outside the Park East Synagogue in Manhattan and heckled Jews attending an event. Quote, "It's our duty to make them think twice before holding these events," said one protester, meaning an event by an organization that helps Jews immigrate to Israel. So that was the event that they wanted them to think twice about holding at their synagogue. Again, an organization that helps Jews immigrate to Israel. So 200 protesters found out about that event at the synagogue and, again, wanted, and one of the protest leaders said, quote, "It's our duty to make them think twice before holding these events." What kind of ominous threat is that? Think twice about holding an event in your synagogue? Quote, "We need to make them scared. We need to make them scared." And they said it 3 times. I don't know why. The crowd also chanted from New York to Gaza, "Globalize the Intifada." "Resistance, you make us proud. Take another settler out," a hate-filled group chanted at one point. A Jewish counter-protest assembled in front of the synagogue and yelled back, "You're cowards," and blasted them for protesting at a synagogue. Video shows NYPD officers at the scene, separating the two groups behind a metal barricade, but no arrests were reported, according to the department. The protest was led by the anti-Israel activist group Paul Auda, which advertises the event as "No Settlers on Stolen Land" and "Protest to Stop the Settler Recruiting Fair." Now, the event carried on inside the synagogue, welcoming attendees at a table near the front door. The group, which promotes immigration to Israel from North America, does not direct immigrants to controversial settlements, according to the outlet. Now, the Park East Synagogue, which has been at its location since 1890, had been led for the last 5 decades by 95-year-old senior Rabbi Arthur Schneider, who was a survivor of the Holocaust. So that was in New York City. They found a need to protest, to scare. They need to scare the Jewish worshipers. They need to make them think twice about holding this event. Some of the chanting also included, according to reports, "Globalized Intifada," as I mentioned, "Death to the IDF," and "Take another settler out." And what critics warned is just the beginning of a radicalized climate under socialist mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani. Radical anti-Israel activists pounded drums and unleashed a barrage of incendiary chants, including "Resistance is glorious," "Intifada revolution," "No peace on stolen land," "We don't want no 2 states, we want 48." And from New York to Gaza, "Globalized Intifada." While signs declared Zionism is a death cult and "No settlers on stolen land." Attendees entering and exiting the building were jeered at close range as one protest leader told the crowd, "It's our duty to make them think twice before holding these events. We need to make them scared." Pretty much reporting on just a couple different articles on this, reporting essentially the same. Reverend Jordan Wells, a New York pastor who shared further footage, said a mob of anti-Semites is outside Park East Synagogue screaming the "Globalized Intifada," and there's only one solution: Intifada revolution. Noting that the rabbi inside was a child when Kristallnacht happened, I never know how to say that properly, and is now forced to hear the same hatred, the same bloodlust outside his own synagogue. He concluded that the crowd represented the same ancient virus now and wearing a keffiyeh instead of a brown shirt. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, and I apologize. House Republican Leadership Chairwoman Elise Stefanik, who is challenging Governor Hochul in that gubernatorial race, charged that, quote, "This is Kathy Hochul's New York," accusing the governor of endorsing a raging anti-Semite for mayor of New York City and thereby putting Jewish families at risk. What a scary situation to now getting aggressive as synagogues, wanting members of that synagogue to think twice about holding an event. And unfortunately, to Elise Stefanik's point, I mean, Mamdani had been around and had supported this kind of anti-Semitic language, anti-Semitic protests. It's a scary situation. Also, since we're talking about it, I know I'm running late. No. We'll tie that in with what's happening on college campuses because we saw the anti-Semitic protests on college campuses, the encouragement by faculty and staff of students to harass and intimidate Jewish members of their student community, to the point that Harvard's president even said, I'm going to take a pay cut just to support the anti-Semites. So we'll talk a little bit about that, because there's continued protests, this time, sadly, against Turning Point USA and other conservative organizations. We got a little bit about that, then we're going to move on, because we got a lot to talk about with some of the other major issues of the day. Keep your waves, keep your comments coming in, and we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
I'm Marion Crawford. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me, to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
An albino baby buffalo was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bus.
Day one of the National Glider Competition.
This is a Collector Consumer Alert. Hi, my name is Jared Johnson with SueTheCollector.com. Did you know that repossessions are on the rise in America? If your car, truck, or motorcycle has been repossessed by an agent that broke a lock, assaulted you, or trespassed on your private property, you have rights. Call us for a free case review at 1-877-BAD-REPO. You pay nothing unless we win money for you. Call me now.
Dear First Place, experts agree Toyota value can't be beat. Drivers agree Toyota quality rides long and strong. Add hybrid choices like no other, and you'll win the long game by a country mile. Toyota.
Grab Black Friday savings now until December 1st. Lease a new RAV4 with all-wheel drive for just $289 a month. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota. Let's go places.
United Way fights for the health, education, and financial stability of every person in every community. Will you?
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Market Street in Corning. One viewer writes in, I think Antifa needs to be made afraid. So I like that. So Intifada combined with Antifa. I like that. But the problem is they know they're not afraid. Because, especially on college campuses, they don't get any real punishment. That's why the Trump administration had to start cracking down on funding for these schools. We know even in the streets with these protests very often, especially with Alvin Bragg in New York City, receiving, if anything, a slap on the wrist. But the University of California at Berkeley, this is about protests at college campuses, not necessarily anti-Semitic protests. This is more about Turning Point USA, but let me give you a little background here. The University of California at Berkeley was once famed as the birth of America's modern free speech movement back in 1964, led by graduate student Mario Savio. But that legacy has been marred by successive incidents and policies at the university antithetical to our First Amendment ideals. The growing trend of left-wing violence targeting free speech in America was on full display last week when Antifa thugs crashed a peaceful Turning Point USA event at UC Berkeley. The mob attacked attendees and vandalized university property in its attempt to oust Turning Point from the event space. Police made only a few arrests. University organizers did little to protect students or the public, despite being on notice of similar incidents of organized violence in the past. They are also accused of interfering with ticketed access to the event featuring Christian comedian Rob Schneider. Berkeley's legacy as a bastion of free speech is in tatters, stained with the blood of event attendees who came in good faith and were beaten and attacked by a vicious organized mob, while Berkeley police and campus administrators did little to stop the carnage. And very often what you'll see on college campuses, if a conservative group wants to have an event, what the colleges will do is charge such an exorbitant fee for security that it'll cause a conservative, it's essentially a form of censorship, will stop the conservative group because it won't have the kind of funding from holding the event. Very often, as we saw with the anti-Semitic protest, the faculty and staff were encouraging it. They were encouraging their students, and some of the faculty participated in the anti-Semitism, in the harassment and threats of the Jewish students. Before the event, it was reported that campus was littered with flyers promising violence against the Turning Point event, and the violent group that are well known to the campus and the city openly took credit for their desired goals. This is a feature that has become all too common among radical left-wing groups embracing violence as a tool to achieve political outcomes, broadcasting their aims to silence their perceived opponents. The classic, and we've talked about this numerous times on the program, heckler's veto, but with a twist. The Antifa hecklers are now armed and prepared to wreak havoc. It's for this very reason that President Trump issued an executive order earlier this year designating Antifa a terrorist organization. And Attorney General Pam Bondi is vigorously enforcing this directive. And do you remember when that came out? People were saying, well, there's no real thing as Antifa. So pathetic. I mean, really, the left has encouraged much of this violence. What we saw at Berkeley only reinforces the need for a coordinated response to targeted, ideologically motivated violence. History shows that violence against conservatives is nothing new at UC Berkeley. In 2018, the university settled a lawsuit brought by Young American Foundation and the Berkeley College Republicans after it sought to saddle the student groups with exorbitant security costs that were only necessary because many violent leftist students on campus were threatening event safety. So basically, the hecklers win, is what that's why they call it the heckler's veto. What they'll say is, we are going to get violent. So then the school says, uh-oh, you, the group that they're going to get violent against, the group that has their life in harm's way, you have to pay to protect yourself. It's almost like the mob, to protect yourself from the violence. But based on this week, it appears UC Berkeley may not be living up to its end of the deal. Worse, reports of university officials suppressing turnout at the event and not recognizing or admitting certain ticketed attendees are deeply concerning and merit investigation, says Harmeet Dhillon. The number of protesters at a high-profile event requires ample security by the university. The First Amendment demands that a public university provide such protections in an equal and unbiased manner, regardless of the speaker's viewpoint. This is true even if the need for more security is a result of a hostile environment on campus. Peaceful speakers and those who come to hear them should not be left to shoulder the burden of the university's failure to foster an accepting, nonviolent culture for students. UC Berkeley, was the birthplace of a free speech movement, but the events of this week confirm that the school has a problem with left-wing violence. It's a feature of life on Berkeley's campus that contradicts the school's tradition of supporting free exchange of ideas. If UC Berkeley or the California Board of Regents does not get this violence under control, and we continue to witness policing practices in the city of Berkeley that leave innocent Americans at risk based upon their perceived viewpoints, the Justice Department will step in and ensure fidelity to our first principles of free speech on public campuses. That's Harmeet K. Dhillon, who wrote this piece and is the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights at the U.S. Department of Justice. But when we see this radicalism, this hate on college campuses, it should come as no surprise because it starts a lot earlier than college. We've had numerous examples of this on the program through the past. But listen to this. One of the top teachers' unions in the country had an upcoming training session that will instruct members on how to go through a gender transition at work, including best practices for using gender pronouns and combating transphobia, while also providing literature labeling conservative opposition as villains. In a document posted to its website, the National Education Association announced to its more than 3 million educator members a slate of training programs, including a session named Advancing LGBTQ Justice. The union will also hold an Advancing Racial Justice through Union Work. The NEA said, understanding the community that their issues are critical to providing support and guidance that is not only inclusive but liberating about the LGBTQ training. I'm not going to go through all the goals, but you see this woke agenda. You see the messages that the NEA and the unions are sending. It's just it all ties together, whether it's the protest in the street at the synagogue in New York City, the anti-Semitic protest, whether it's on college campuses or whether it's even earlier. This all sadly comes as no surprise. But the Trump administration is trying to crack down on this bias, on this hatred towards conservatives. We'll see. Time will tell if it is successful or not. It has been a long-rooted problem. It's been there for a long time, and it's going to take some time to weed it out. All right, when we come back, we got a couple things here about J.D. Vance. We do have one or two stories about Epstein, about the Democrat Party. Stay with us, though, would you? We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
This is a collector consumer alert. Hi, my name is Jared Johnson with SueTheCollector.com. Did you know that repossessions are on the rise in America? If your car, truck, or motorcycle has been repossessed by an agent that broke a lock, assaulted you, or trespassed on your private property, you have rights. Call us for a free case review at 1-877-BAD-REPO. You pay nothing unless we win money for you. Call me now.
Here's the deal. We gotta set ourselves up. Retirement is the long game. We can't play about our future or our finances. Let's put ourselves in the right position.
Can you help me?
Mom, Dad, we're going out.
Thank you.
Oh, look, they're playing chess.
What you got there?
Will you help my mom?
She's real sick, huh? Hey, crew, I'll give the first move to anyone who signs up to be an organ donor. How do you do it?
Easy. Just go to organdonor.gov.
You heard him, organdonor.gov.
More donors means more hope. Sign up at
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Comment from a viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. Help me understand why we are tolerating this kind of behavior. And this is in reference to the anti-Semitic protests, whether in the streets, like in New York City at that synagogue yesterday, or I guess technically Wednesday night, or whether it's on college campuses. Planned violence that is advertised and promoted with flyers. How and why is this allowed to continue? Well, unfortunately, you've got to boil it down to the faculty, the staff, the administration at these universities are supportive of this message. They are supportive of silencing, harassing, intimidating, even getting violent against conservatives or their Jewish members of their student community. That's the only way you can boil this down and see that it is essentially not only accepted behavior. Many instances we've seen professors encourage their students to take part in this violence, this upheaval. It's unfortunate. It's one of the reasons why Trump is trying to crack down. But that's unfortunately what we're dealing with when we talk about academia. Comment from a different viewer. I must have been living in a bubble. What hole have these left-wing radicals crawled out of? Where in the world do these radicals have a place in our country, our society, which was built on free speech and democracy in general? It's been a long time trend. Well, look at the assassination of Charlie Kirk. The assassination of a man who was just using his free speech rights, having the debate, having the conversation. And he was murdered because of it. He was assassinated because of it. This has been a long time brewing, and it's things like For instance, the election of Mamdani, but before that, the support by members of the Squad and others of this kind of anti-Semitism, this radicalism. It wasn't that long ago, just a few short months ago, that people in the Democrat Party were calling their representatives and saying, you have to get violent. You have to get in there and disrupt an ICE detention center, and there's got to be blood. These type of things. This was reported on not that long ago. So it's not just at the college level. It's not just radicals in New York City. It's happening everywhere. But I'm going to move on here for just a moment. Yesterday was Dick Cheney, the former vice president's funeral. The media is making a big deal about the fact that Donald Trump and J.D. Vance were not invited. At the funeral were Bush and Biden. Political figures from across the aisle gathered Thursday in Washington for former Vice President Dick Cheney's funeral, sending off a key figure of pre-MAGA Republican politics. The funeral, which was attended by 2 former presidents and all living former vice presidents, was a bipartisan who's who of Washington dignitaries, yet with the notable absence of 2 of the country's current leaders. Neither Trump nor Vance attended the service, and they were not invited to the funeral, according to a source familiar with the matter. Vance said Thursday that the former vice president was a guy who served his country and wished his family all the best in this moment of grieving. Trump has not publicly expressed his condolences or commented on Cheney's death, unfortunately because of Cheney's daughter, Liz Cheney. Dick Cheney got very anti-Trump there at the end, so that really comes as no surprise. Now, Cheney received full military honors at the invitation-only memorial service at Washington's National Cathedral. Former Presidents Joe Biden and George W. Bush and former First Ladies Jill Biden and Laura Bush attended, as well as former Vice Presidents Kamala Harris, Mike Pence, Al Gore, and Dan Quayle. Bush eulogized his former vice president as a consummate public servant who could be relied on and who lifted the standards of those around him. His abilities were self-evident without need of calculation or self-promotion. His talent and restraint exceeded his ego. Now, Vance had talked about a little bit about this, kind of the Bush era in politics. He was at a Breitbart news event, and I'm going to segue this into other things that Vance talked about as well. But he said, we have a new governing coalition. This is J.D. Vance. We have a new political coalition. We have people who didn't used to vote Republican, and frankly, they have different preferences sometimes on certain issues than maybe the Ronald Reagan or the George W. Bush Republican Party did. I think the Donald Trump Party is a fundamentally new phenomenon in American politics. I think that it can govern the country successfully for the next generation. But some of those divisions you talk about are just the natural outgrowth of the fact that we've got a lot of working class voters who frankly don't care what was Republican orthodoxy 25 years ago. He said the growing coalition of Republican voters are pushing the party in a different direction, with future leaders should embrace as the tent of the political right works together to beat back civilizational threats from the far left. I think that debate is natural and normal, and it's something that we should frankly lean into, recognizing that the far left is really the problem, and we have to confront it in this country. He also said, and I couldn't agree with this more, some people want to go back to when the Republican Party just constantly lost. And I've mentioned this before. You'll see it from some of the more establishment Republicans in Washington. They liked it when they weren't in the majority. They liked that they could, for instance, shout about how they want to repeal and replace Obamacare. And then when push comes to shove and they're actually given the opportunity, they couldn't do it. They weren't ready for it. They want to go back to being able to say they're trying, but what can you do? I'm in the minority. They miss those days. He said, this is J.D. Vance again, I grew up in a working class family. I was raised by the kind of people who were blue dog Democrats, socially conservative Democrats in the 80s and 90s, and have turned hard toward Donald Trump's Republican Party. These are the people who built America's greatest icons, who built America's greatest buildings, who drive our food into the grocery store every day. They're human beings who actually make this country run. I'm proud of them, and I want to keep the Trump coalition together. He said the Republican coalition of the 1990s was more upscale than the party's base today. They showed up in midterms, so Republicans tended to do a little bit better in midterm elections in the 90s than, say, Republicans do today. And that's because while these working class voters are great, they are also people who don't necessarily show up to vote in the midterms all the time. We've got to motivate them. We've got to get them out to vote. He highlighted the recent gubernatorial wins in Virginia and New Jersey. Vance pointed out when Donald Trump is not on the ballot, you've got to give people something to actually believe in, something to be inspired by, to get out there and vote. He argued that voters will not vote for candidates just because they have an R next to their name. You've got to speak to this new working class coalition. And the one worry that I have when I look at so many of our great congressional allies, I do think that some of our folks in Congress want to go back to the Republican Party of 20 years ago. Now, the media is running with this idea that he pled, CNN pled for your patience on the economy. A sharp turn. I thought I had his actual quote here from Trump's rhetoric. We'll talk a little bit about that in just a second. But basically, he mocked those who wanted the egg prices fixed in 2 days after in the inauguration. Excuse me. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Then we have some updates on the Democrat Party, but I can't run too late because I heard the corning whistle. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
The Black Friday sales event is here. Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships in Mansfield. Get savings up to $9,000 off MSRP on brand new Ford Super Duties. Or experience $13,000 off MSRP on select new 2026 Ram 1500s. And don't miss up to $12,000 off 2025 Chevy Silverado 1500s. Enjoy our lowest price guaranteed and get a 55-inch smart TV with every purchase now until the end of the month. So save some green off Route 15 in Mansfield where we're taking the deals the other guys won't.
It's the tea party for Crystal with Miss Marshmallow.
Oh, wow.
And Sarah's first day of management training at Goodwill. When you donate to Goodwill, you help provide skills training and career placement. And the things you love.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Let's go to some viewer comments. Radicals took over education. Now they are infiltrating our government. They are being cheered on by well-meaning, ignorant people with no knowledge of history. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. Of course, the swamp did not invite Trump and Vance to the funeral. They have not given up on stopping MAGA. Yes, we had that report yesterday that kind of Bush and some of his allies are trying to, behind the scenes, prepare for the end of the Trump administration by replacing, getting ready for the next election with a Bush-esque Republican, kind of a more, I don't know if you want to call the word moderate Republican. Some would call it rhino Republican. And I went on that whole long lecture yesterday about how it was really Jeb Bush that ushered in the Trump era. But anyway, whatever you believe about that. So as I said, Vance pleads for patience on the economy and a sharp departure from Trump's rhetoric. Vance said, "We get it and we hear you, and we know that there's a lot of work to do. As much progress as we've made, it's going to take a little time for Americans to feel that." So they're making a big deal out of this, as if he's apologizing. He's just saying it's going to take time. Folks, it's been 11 months as of yesterday. I mean, my goodness, how do you undo the damage of 4 years of Biden in 11 months? Vance said, and I thought this was a very good point, take, for example, a dozen eggs. I'll never forget this. It was one of the very first, maybe the single first press conference the president had done since he had started his second term. And some reporter, probably from ABC, yells at him and says, "What have you done about the price of eggs?" The price of eggs are up 300% over the past 3 years. It's like January the 23rd. Like, what do you mean, what have you done in 2 days? It's going to take a little bit of time to fix that problem. And so if you're an American who is just struggling to get by, you work hard, you pay your taxes, you want your kids to have good opportunities, and the price of eggs goes from $2 a dozen to $8 a dozen under the Biden administration. And then under the Trump administration, it goes from $8 a dozen to maybe $6.50 a dozen. Well, to you, that is still a major problem. And even though we've made incredible progress, we understand that there's a lot more work to do. And the thing that I ask from the American people is a little bit of patience. This economy was not harmed in 10 months. It took a deliberate 4-year administration that was making life harder for everyday Americans, that was importing foreign workers instead of giving jobs to American workers, that was over-regulating or overtaxing, overspending. They were doing everything wrong. So criticizing that ABC reporter, he assumes ABC reporter, that in 2 days, what have you done? I remember it. What have you done about egg prices? We're going to talk about the Democrat Party here in general because there's some announcements there. Then we're going to talk, there's an interesting piece by David Hersani about Epstein. We'll talk about that. I wanted to highlight a few things for you, if you don't mind. First of all, don't forget today is that historic marker unveiling. Our friend Greg Tranter, who was on the program about his lifelong, some would argue, obsession with the Buffalo Bills, writing numerous books. Well, he's also taken on this project because it turns out, and this is going to be the 103rd anniversary of it today, that the first ever game of professional football was played after dark at what was called the Maple Avenue Driving Park, now known as Dunn Field. In 1902, Maple Avenue Driving Park included a stadium for horse racing, bicycle racing, baseball, and a football field in the center. So today they're going to mark that spot by Dunn Field with a historic marker in remembrance of the first ever game of professional football played after dark. It is today at 11:30, at Dunn Field, where this new historic marker will join alongside the historic Dunn Field plaque. So I hope everybody can make it out today. Hope to see you there. We got a couple other announcements of events coming up, but I got to take a short break. We'll bring them to you when we return. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking.
Some people who need Social Security disability benefits go to their hearing alone and get turned down. Not every lawyer will appeal a denial after your hearing. I will. I'm Peter Gorton of Lockman & Gorton. I help people win benefits by appealing their denials, including in federal court. But your time to appeal is limited, so call my office now.
Lockman & Gordon, 1-800-698-0567.
In the nature, collisions happen when you least expect them. Deer hits can turn a tranquil drive into a chaotic moment. When the unexpected happens, turn to Scott's Collision. At Scott's Collision, we understand the frustration of unexpected encounters with wildlife. From dents to more extensive damage, we've got you covered. When nature and your vehicle collide, trust Scott's Collision to bring it back to life.
An albino buffalo was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized and a bust.
Day 1 of the National Glider Competition.
The free Talk They Hear You mobile app and Screen for Success tool can help you turn everyday situations into opportunities to talk with your kids about alcohol and other drugs and identify if they need more support. Download the app today and keep your kids safe and healthy.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, getting ready to wrap up hour number 1. Comment from a viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. It's sad for the families of John McCain and Dick Cheney when the main takeaway was who wasn't invited to the funeral. I agree, but I think, sadly, in those instances, the families liked that being a part of the conversation. They liked it being known, their opposition to Trump, unfortunately. Okay, I wanted to mention this to you from our friends at the Crystal City VFW, Post 524. They are holding a fundraiser for Toys for Tots, and it's Monday. Talk about a good fundraiser here. Smash Burger Night. It's Monday, 3 p.m. until gone. You can eat in or take out. That's at 281 Baker Street in Corning. You get a choice of a double with fries or a triple with fries. The double, $10, $12 for the triple. Bring a $10 unwrapped toy and receive a $3 drink coupon. One coupon per person, and that's going to benefit the Toys for Tots. So thank you to our friends at the VFW. All right. We have, before we start talking about some updates in the Democrat Party that I think you're going to find interesting, Nancy Pelosi responded to Michelle Obama saying the country isn't ready for a woman president. Before that, this is not a good look if you're running for or anywhere near Tennessee. Democrat congressional hopeful, Afton Ben, interesting name, Afton Ben, did not hold back when describing how she really feels about, of all places, Nashville. Now, keep in mind, she's running to represent Nashville as well. Well, back in 2020, she did a podcast that has since resurfaced just days before the December 2nd special election. This is what she said. Again, she's running to represent a district that includes Nashville, Tennessee. I hate the city. I hate the bachelorettes. I hate the pedal taverns. I hate country music. I hate all the things that make Nashville apparently an it city to the rest of the country, but I hate it. That could be a tough sell to Nashvillians come Election Day. Ben, a Democrat state representative and former healthcare community organizer, is running against Republican Matt Van Epps, to represent Tennessee's 7th congressional district. The winner will succeed former GOP Representative Mark Green, who resigned from office in June to take a private sector job. So part of the district includes parts of the Democrat stronghold of Nashville, Tennessee. So keep that in mind. Even after she said that, because Nashville has become a Democrat stronghold because of all the people that have moved in from places like New York City, you could see them still voting for her even after those statements. What really makes Nashville thriving is all the things that she hates. The Democrat running in a special election for Tennessee's 7th congressional district, Afton Ben, is running on the message, "I hate this place, elect me, Tennessee deserves better," said the RNC. Wow. Again, you're running and Nashville's going to be a part of your district and you say, "I hate the city, I hate the bachelorettes, I hate the pedal taverns, I hate country music, I hate all the things that make Nashville apparently an it city to the rest of the country, but I hate it." There we go. On that note, we got some other Democrat updates. I see some comments coming in. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking with our number 2 after this.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is the start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
An albino buffalo was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bus.
Day 1 of the National Glider Competition.
Nearly 5 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bus.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
Parents, we tend to react react most when our kids misbehave. But did you know praising your kids 4 times for every time you correct them can transform their behavior and your relationship? And with these colorful praiselets from Boys Town, the 4-to-1 rule is a breeze. Visit parenting.org/praise to see how it works. Request your own free praiselets and explore other great ways to teach love with praise. Because every kid deserves to hear they're doing great.
Your Big Fox, WYDC TV.
And we are back. It is our number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Thank you for joining us. Let's go to some viewer comments. First of all, Steve brought this to our attention. Mark your calendars, because tomorrow is the Southern Tier Card Show and Collectors Showcase at the Elmira Heights Legion. It's from 11 a.m. until 4 p.m., and there's early entry hours at 10 a.m. for $10. There'll be trading cards, sports memorabilia, toys, collectibles, so much more. It'll be a fun time. So again, it's the Southern Tier Card Show and Collectors Showcase tomorrow at the Elmira Heights Legion, 11 till 4 p.m. So thank you for bringing that to our attention, Steve. Comment from a different viewer. I recall that the Democrats were recently protesting Trump's idea of bringing vested foreigners into the country to fill jobs and teach our citizens how to do the work. But they hypocritically did the same thing with open borders and also allowed criminals free access. Thank you. Speaking of Democrats, Eric Swalwell, who, boy, he embarrasses himself a lot. He thinks he's very, very smart. You know that. He announced that he is launching a bid for governor of California. Where did he make the announcement? None other than Jimmy Kimmel Live. He's going to hate tonight's episode, Swalwell said in response to a social media post that Trump said of criticizing Kimmel for being biased and having no talent. That's what I mean. Swalwell saying that he's going to hate tonight's episode, meaning Trump. He thinks people think about him more than they do. Greg Gutfeld embarrasses him all the time. He was just, it was embarrassing when he had a hearing with Ben Shapiro. If you ever get a chance to watch it, Ben Shapiro takes him to the cleaners. But Eric Swalwell said he vowed to be a protector and fighter if elected governor. 1, keep Trump out of our homes, streets, and lives. 2nd is to write the story of a new California on lower prices, on business growth, and modernizing the state. I'm running to be governor of all Californians. I'm the son of 2 Republicans, the son of a cop, and I grew up in a law enforcement family. I worked as a prosecutor myself. I know that whether you're a Republican or a Democrat in the state, public safety for yourself, your kids, and your community is top priority. Now, other candidates for governor of California, because Gavin Newsom is term limited, include former U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services Xavier Becerra, former U.S. Representative Katie Porter, and billionaire activist and 2020 presidential candidate Tom Steyer, and former Fox News host Steve Hilton, and Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco. That's on the Republican side, the last 2. Okay. Oh, and also someone eyeing a run, George Conway. Do you remember how disgusting he treated his wife, Kellyanne Conway? Full disclosure, I could never stand this guy, George Conway. Just how nasty he was to his wife in public, for heaven's sakes. Well, he is looking to run in that congressional seat that Jerry Nadler is retiring from. George Conway, the former conservative, this is coming from the New York Times, so take it with a grain of salt, lawyer and one of President Trump's fiercest critics, is moving closer to announcing a run for Congress in one of Manhattan's wealthiest and bluest districts, pitching himself to potential donors as a top attorney who does not have any more, he doesn't care anymore, we'll put it that way. That's another thing, he likes to swear a lot. Mr. Conway, who currently lives in Maryland, has hired the Democrat pollster Ann Greenberg to work on a budding campaign to succeed Jared Nadler, who is retiring. He's also scouting apartments in the district where he lived and worked for years before relocating to Washington in 2017 when his wife, at the time, Kellyanne Conway, joined the first Trump administration as a senior White House official. They divorced back in 2023. Okay, now I mentioned Nancy Pelosi. Oh, here's a comment from Mark. Wow, this is in reference to the end of the last hour where that Democrat candidate running for Congress whose district would include Nashville saying how much she hates Nashville and how much she hates country music. He said, wow, she hates Nashville, Tennessee. I don't think she stands a chance at winning anything in Tennessee. I don't know. Nashville's become a Democrat stronghold, they're saying. Anyway. So former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi pushed back on Michelle Obama's recent claim that Americans are not ready to elect a woman president. When asked by Anderson Cooper whether she agreed with the former First Lady's comments, Pelosi questioned why a woman commander-in-chief would be out of the question. She said, quote, well, I respect her, and I know that view is one that we all are saddened by, but I think we have to change. The fact is that I've heard every excuse in the book, like I'm not sure a woman could be commander-in-chief. Well, why not? Well, I served in the military. Well, okay, and so do women serve in the military. The former House Speaker added that she always thought we would have a woman president long before we had a woman Speaker of the House, and that she did not set out to be Speaker. Okay. Because I thought the American people were much more ready for a woman president, just the thought of it was so exciting, the message it sends to the world. Faster than there would be a woman speaker at this place. I mean, shall we say, it's male-dominated for hundreds of years. And so when I ran for leadership, they said, who said she could run? Oh, poor babies, I'm not waiting for you to tell me I can run. Pelosi argued that there is a pecking order of men in Washington who feel that they are entitled to certain positions within the government and that it still exists really on the Republican side. Okay. You knew she had to get that in there. Now people say to me, kids say to me, students, they say, it's nice you were speaker, but I'm going to be president. And I said, well, I certainly hope so. So corny. Yes, it's on the Republican side. Yes. Okay. Yes, and then if you didn't vote for Kamala Harris, it is because, not because of the disastrous job that she did as vice president, not because we were told for 4 years she wasn't going to be president because she wasn't that good by her own party. Not because of the word salads and all that we witnessed. It had everything to do with the fact that she was a woman. Okay. Also, since we're talking about that, former senior advisor to former President Joe Biden, Mike Donilon, criticized the Democrat Party for forcing Biden out of his 2024 re-election campaign. Donilon blasted the decision to replace Biden, calling it undemocratic and a betrayal that cost the Democratic Party the presidency. I thought what happened in the party, I thought it was disloyal. I thought it was an act of betrayal against the president. I thought it was undemocratic because it didn't respect the will of the Democratic primary voter. He made the remarks while speaking as a guest panelist at the USC Center for the Political Future Conference this week. I thought the Democrat Party lost its mind. That's what I thought, he said. We don't need to go through the whole history. But he said, I thought that Joe Biden was the best candidate. I thought he was the most likely person to be elected president. I thought he would be the best president. Donilon added that there was a perception that he couldn't do the job, a perception the ex-advisor disputed, saying no one can point to a moment in the Biden presidency when he failed to do his job as president. Interesting. So look, my view was, there have been 3 people who've run against Donald Trump. Joe Biden's the only person who ever beat him. That's a fair point that he makes there. Now, an update from yesterday's broadcast. The House Ethics Committee has launched an investigation into Representative Corey Mills following a censure effort by Representative Nancy Mace, who accused him of a series of alarming ethical, legal, and personal misconduct allegations. Drama unfolded on the House floor as Mace's resolution to force a vote in the censure was read, which sought to strip Mills of his place on the House Committee on Armed Services and the House Committee on Foreign Affairs. I mentioned this to you yesterday. You're a disgrace, she said, telling Mills that to his face. The Wall Street Journal's Olivia Beavers reported that Mace also shouted, "You're a piece of baloney," we'll say. Mills said Mace was extremely vulgar to him on the floor. But now there is an ethics committee investigation that has been launched into Representative Corey Mills. There you go. Now, Trump, this was the big story yesterday that the media is making a very big story out of. We're going to talk about it when we come back. But it is Trump demanding the arrest of Democrat traitors who urged military to refuse illegal orders. We're going to talk about that when we come back quickly, if you don't mind, if you would humor me. Don't forget, coming up on December 12th, we have the Salvation Army Telethon. The telethon is going to be a fun event, this will be our third annual. It's hard to believe. But those websites you can donate ahead of time, because what we're looking to do, and it's starting now until December 12th, maybe even a little bit after, but let's say December 12th, we're going to be raising funds for the Salvation Army of Corning. And because of an amazingly generous donor, everything is matched up to $6,000. So if you say, I normally give $100 to the Salvation Army, well, thank you. If you give it now and you put it in this kettle here on my desk, or you send it into the website or text or come the day of, that $100 will really be $200. So get the most bang for your buck and donate for the telethon here on Frankly Speaking. And that, again, is on December 12th. I actually think, let me see if I can do this. We'll go back to that. There's a QR code. That'll send you to the website as well, if that's easier for you than typing in all those numbers. So please donate to the Salvation Army and then join us on December 12th for that very special telethon. We'll have music by the Crystal Chords and so many others. So please donate, and let's break that $6,000. So that means we would be able to give them a check for $12,000. Wouldn't that be great for the Salvation Army of Corning that does so much for all of Steuben County and does so much for our community? All right, stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Hey, bud. You still coming over? Chili's almost ready.
Great. On my way. Be there in a few.
Hey, buddy. I'm starting to get a little worried about you.
No seatbelt.
Give me a call when you get a chance. Love you.
Every day is a chance to do something meaningful. At Quick Fill, it can start with a tank of gas or a cup of Bradley Street coffee. Free every day in November with a purchase of our Operation Give Thanks mug. Whether you're fueling up, purchasing a mug, or making a donation, you're part of something bigger. Through Operation Give Thanks, you can feel proud knowing you're helping make a difference in the lives of veterans and their families.
Alcoholics Anonymous. For more information, visit aa.org.
What level life jacket should you wear when you're far from shore?
Level 100.
Bingo. Now, what's the most comfortable type of life jacket to wear if you're just chilling close to the shore?
Level 70.
Great. Last question. Before leaving the shore, make sure your boat has enough life jackets for
everyone.
You're the best.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Let's go to some viewer comments, shall we? Wow, way to self-promote. This is in reference to the lady running for Congress, which part of her district would be Nashville, Tennessee. She went on a rant on a podcast back in 2020 about how she hates Nashville, she hates country music, etc. Well, this viewer writes, wow, what a way to self-promote. I would vote for her in a New York Minute if I lived in Tennessee, that is. Thank you very much. Ken writes in, no one can point to anything that Biden did as president. Do you remember ever seeing him at the Resolute desk? I only saw him sitting at the small replica in the hall. I still wonder who took up camp in the Oval Office. A good point. Remember, they had that replica made for various press conferences. I think it was very weird. That's a good point. Someone writes, do you take good old-fashioned paper checks at your desk? I sure do. For the Salvation Army of Corning, I absolutely do. Just make it out to the Salvation Army of Corning. And you can also, if it's easier, you can mail it to me right here at the station, 33 East Market Street in Corning, 14830. So if that's easier, or if there's a way you want to get that check to me, just text me. We can get that all figured out. But yes, absolutely, we take paper checks. I think there's one in there right now already that someone put in that was kind enough. We're trying to get to that 6,000. Let's do it. All right. So Trump tweeted out on Truth Social, it's called seditious behavior at the highest level. Each one of these traitors to our country should be arrested and put on trial. Their words cannot be allowed to stand. We won't have a country anymore. An example must be set. And that's in reference to the Democrats who released that video saying essentially that the current military should not obey orders from Trump and Hegseth if they personally believe them to be illegal. The president then reposted a message of support from users of his social media platform, including one who wrote in all caps, hang them, George Washington would. The 60-minute video titled Don't Give Up the Ship featured those Democrat lawmakers. We read those the last couple days. And we also read what they said. But Trump saying this is really bad and dangerous to our country. Their words cannot be allowed to stand. Seditious behavior from traitors, lock them up. Seditious behavior punishable by death. The media is having a field day with this. The group that put out this video released a statement saying no threat, intimidation, or call for violence will deter us. What's most telling is the president considers it punishable by death for us to restate the law. Every American must unite and condemn the president's call for our murder and political violence. This is a time for moral clarity. In these moments, fear is contagious, but so is courage. We will continue to lead and will not be intimidated. CNN's Aaron Blake said why Democrats are warning about Trump giving illegal orders. And it's an analysis, again, by CNN. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt clarified Thursday that Trump does not, in fact, want members of Congress put to death, but she otherwise stood by an idea that these members were acting dangerously and undermining the commander-in-chief. She said the members were urging members of the military to defy the chain of command. They're literally saying to 1.3 million active duty service members to defy the chain of command, not to follow lawful orders. But that is not what they were literally saying. In fact, the members were not urging anyone to disobey lawful orders. They explicitly referred in the video only to unlawful orders, and repeatedly so. The other problem is that defying the chain of command isn't just something military service members are allowed to do in such cases. It's something they're often required to do. So they go through and analyze all this. I don't want to go through all of it. What's your thoughts on that? Also, they're doing... I guess Marjorie Taylor Greene's getting what she wants. I mean, she's getting this glowing attention, even though it's laced with nastiness towards her. She likes the attention. The Washington Post writes, Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene breakup. Shakes MAGA. Mom and dad are separated. Would you, if you are a MAGA supporter, did this shake you? I mean, it might have upset you, what Marjorie Taylor Greene has been saying and going on The View and things like that. But did it shake some core belief of yours? Half an hour into the Walker County GOP meeting, Chairwoman Jackie Herling turned to the elephant in the room, the explosive breakup of Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene. As Herling put it, mom and dad are separated. No one directly criticized the president in the 45-minute discussion that followed, but the message was clear. Not even Trump could turn these Make America Great Again supporters against one of their movement's biggest stars in Congress. Audience members murmured in agreement as the Republican chair for the congressional district, who has worked for Greene, defended her and cast her as even more focused on the America First agenda than Trump. Oh, so here we go. Okay, now I understand the Washington Post take on this. You, as a MAGA supporter, are actually going to side with Marjorie Taylor Greene now. She is now a star, according to the media. This is what the media does. It's why, going back to the viewer that mentioned John McCain, why John McCain was a maverick. You are supported if you work across the aisle, if you're a Republican doing it for Democrats. Not the other way around. Look what happened with the government shutdown. Democrats were outraged at those senators that reached across the aisle. Called them every horrible name in the book. That's different. But if it's a Republican caving into Democrats' demands or attacking the president, then they're a maverick. Then they are loved. So in this piece, the argument is that not even Trump can get people to lose their faith and their belief and their undying dedication to one Marjorie Taylor Greene. We got Donald Trump trying to take care of the world, said the chair. Got Marjorie Taylor Greene trying to take care of the country. Greene split with Trump, which unfolded over issues including, we don't need to know all that. But many Republican leaders and voters in Greene's deep red district say they are sticking with her, boosting her bid to carve out a populist MAGA brand independent of the president. The mood in Georgia's 14th district, a rural GOP stronghold in the state's northwest, offers one early measure of Trump's pull in the party as he faces rare pushback from MAGA leaders. The president has said he knows what MAGA wants better than anyone else, but some allies have warned that he is in some ways falling out of step with the base. The fallout is still risky for Greene, once considered one of Trump's staunchest supporters on the Hill. Her allies are quick to emphasize that they are still supporting Trump. Her recent criticism of the president has infuriated some other Republicans who accuse her of stoking divisions in the GOP that Democrats are eager to amplify, and I would argue exploit. And some GOP voters said in the interview that they are questioning Greene's commitment to the party. Our president is not happy with her, John Hagan said, and I usually go along with our president. So there you go. Are you? I guess if they're telling you have to pick sides. Typical media fashion. Kind of interesting. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about Jeffrey Epstein. I do have some New York State issues to get to. My goodness, we're going to run out of time, and we have so much left to cover. Don't forget, I mentioned the telethon. We're good there. Today at 11:30 at Dunn Field, the historic marker unveiling. Don't forget that. I hope to see you there. And then on Monday, the VFW is holding the Smash Burger Night from 3 p.m. until gone. Eat in or take out. That's 281 Baker Street. $10 for a double with fries or $12 for a triple with fries. And for their Toys for Tots fundraiser, bring a $10 unwrapped toy and receive a $3 drink coupon. Thank you very much. All right, we got to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
An albino baby buffalo was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized and a bust.
Day one of the National Glider Competition. An albino buffalo was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized and a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
Day one of the National Glider Competition. Severe flooding has caused major disruptions in parts of Steuben County.
Throughout the year, prison reform has become a priority around New York State.
I was diagnosed at 65.
37. Earlier than most.
Every 9 minutes, someone is diagnosed with Parkinson's disease.
And every one of them can turn to the American Parkinson Disease Association. Visit apdaparkinson.org to learn more and show your support today.
We are the keepers of the wild, America's original and most invested conservationists. For more than 80 years, we've been committed to conserving wildlife and the natural landscapes that define our nation. From rugged alpine ridgelines to peaceful tall grass prairies, we've supported the conservation of more than 36 million acres of American wildlands. Our funding has led to cleaner water, fresher air, and improved wildlife habitat. From abundant fish and waterfowl populations to robust deer and elk herds, nothing is more important than maintaining wild spaces for adventurers to explore and wildlife to thrive. We are America's hunters and target shooters, stewards of the American outdoors.
It's our beautiful view of historic Market Street in the heart of the Gaffer District, brought to you by Voss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Market Street in Corning. A lot of viewer comments here. I find it laughable, says one viewer, if not so disgusting, that Trump's words set them on fire, suggesting real murder when their party is allowing, backing, and promoting violence and killing, especially at the hands of repeat criminals, deadly crimes by undocumented newcomers, aka illegal aliens. That's in reference to the tweet from from Donald Trump. The one viewer says the Democrats who participated in the video did so as a pathetic attempt to show their resistance. Typical attention seekers. Yes, they wanted this attention. We're seeing it from many in the Democrat Party now that want to be the face of the resistance. We saw it from, well, pretty much anybody. Chuck Schumer shut the government down because of it. But Cory Booker is one that's trying to be at the lead. J.B. Pritzker. Comment from a different viewer. It's another great day in the kingdom. The king has spoken and has caused the peasants to gasp. At the end of the day, he'll still be king, and the peasants will still be gasping. God save the king. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I see some other comments coming in. We'll get to those after the next segment. All right. Jasmine Crockett, if you recall, I had mentioned the story where she suggested that Lee Zeldin, the head of the EPA and former New York State gubernatorial candidate, had accepted money to his campaign from Jeffrey Epstein. He responded and said it was a completely different Jeffrey Epstein and called her, I can't remember exactly what he called her, but like an idiot or something like that. Well, Jasmine Crockett gave a mind-boggling explanation for why she accused Lee Zeldin and other Republicans on the House floor of taking donations from Jeffrey Epstein, desperately insisting she never said she was referring to the late convicted pedophile. Crockett tried to defend herself on CNN. She said, listen, I never said that it was that Jeffrey Epstein. Can you imagine that's her excuse? Just so that people understand, when you make a donation, your picture is not there. And because they decided to spring this on us in real time, I wanted the Republicans to think about what could potentially happen, because I knew that they didn't even try to go through the Federal Election Commission. Excuse me? The lawmaker, who has publicly stated she is considering a Senate run next year, then brazenly tried to blame the GOP for making her statements a record without verifying them. What? So this is what she said. So my team, what they did is they Googled, and that is specifically why I said a Jeffrey Epstein. Unlike Republicans, I at least don't go out and just tell lies. Because it was not the same one, that's fine. But when Lee Zeldin had something to say, all he had to do was say it. To say it was a different Jeffrey Epstein. He admitted that he did receive donations from a Jeffrey Epstein. So at least I wasn't trying to mislead people. I literally had maybe 20 minutes before I had to do that debate. Could someone out there explain that to me? So she was not trying to mislead anyone by saying that Lee Zeldin accepted donations from Jeffrey Epstein, even though it turned out to be a completely different Jeffrey Epstein. And really, she puts the blame on Lee Zeldin. All he had to do was come out and say it wasn't this Jeffrey Epstein. This is a woman that wants to be a senator. She might have got a little bit over her skis on this one. She said on the House floor, folks who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly: Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin, George Bush, Winred, McCain Palin, Rick Lazio. She said after Republicans revealed that supporters of House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries invited Epstein to a private meet and greet in 2013. Unlike in Zeldin's case, there was no question that Plaskett was communicating with a convicted sex offender, as copies of the message were included in documents turned over to the House Oversight Committee by Epstein's estate and made public November 12. Zeldin, now head of the EPA, said, yes, Crockett, a physician named Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, who's a totally different person than the other Jeffrey Epstein, donated to a prior campaign of mine. No freaking relation, you genius. That's what he called her. I couldn't remember what it was. So that's quite an excuse that she made there. But hey, all he had to do was say it wasn't the Jeffrey Epstein that people thought it was, and I wasn't trying to mislead anybody. Now, this is a piece by David Hersani when it talks about Comment from a viewer. I hope Jasmine keeps on talking. I think that's very helpful. I would agree. And I think she is very much, well, she very much wants to run for Senate. She's got kind of a delusion of grandeur, and that's fine. Many in Washington do. But she's made it clear numerous times in just the recent history, within the last couple of weeks, that she is not perhaps what you would say the best and brightest for the future of the Democrat Party. But mentioning Jeffrey Epstein, and we know that the one Republican who voted against the release of these files said that he did so because he believes it will drag some innocent people through the mud. That because just because you were named in some of these documents, maybe you testified, something like that, people are instantly going to be blamed for having an association with Jeffrey Epstein. David Hersani has kind of the similar take on this. He said, former Harvard president Larry Summers has now lost virtually every professional association after a House committee released emails of his exchanges with child sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Many of the correspondence are embarrassing. There's going to be little, if any, sympathy for a well-known elite who's angered conservatives and liberals and befriends creeps. And perhaps Summers doesn't deserve any. Even so, there isn't even a hint of illegality in those emails. There's nothing suggesting that Summers participated in any kind of anything improper or conspiratorial. The only purpose of the release was to destroy him. Congress has voted to compel release of the so-called Epstein files, a trove of documents amassed during criminal investigations into the sex offender who committed suicide in 2019. The contents are likely brimming with thousands of names of innocent people, many of whom have provided alibis or were never under any suspicion of sex trafficking or any other crime. A significant portion of any criminal investigation consists of uncorroborated accusations that are floated by people, third-hand accounts, theories, rumors. This is why grand jury files are almost always sealed. We already know Epstein was a vile and depraved criminal, and no one should belittle the experience of his victims. Anyone, however, can make allegations. Even victims don't always remember correctly. Things a braggart such as Epstein might have said may not be true. That's why we have procedures, the rule of law, statutes of limitations, and trials. Moreover, the Epstein files will be filled with information obtained by law enforcement using warrants based on probable cause signed off by a judge for a specific reason. The warrants, which allow the use of government coercion, weren't signed so that the public could have access to the emails of every person Epstein spoke with. Americans caught up in criminal investigations have a presumption of privacy. Those who continued the relationship with Epstein, even after he was convicted of solicitation of prostitution from a minor, are detestable. But talking with a criminal isn't criminality itself. What principle stops a future Congress from cracking open useful Justice Department files and releasing any embarrassing secondhand conversation that involves their political enemies? Perhaps ask the people caught up in the Russian collusion investigation. There's apparently a widespread public belief that Epstein was trafficking underage girls to a cabal of powerful people. Yet, as of now, there is only evidence that Epstein participated in the crimes himself. It is perfectly plausible that the financier befriended celebrities and kingmakers on one hand and trafficked women for himself on the other. If journalists want to prove that Epstein was a kingpin of the New World Order, a human trafficking ring, go for it. If authorities believe that his prosecution in Florida was corrupt, they should launch an investigation into misconduct. This isn't an ancient case. Most of the victims are still alive. Most of the powerful people involved with Epstein are still alive. His sidekick is still alive and in prison. Investigate. But much of this is driven by rank partisanship. Democrats like to act as if Trump is engaged in some cover-up. Well, they had every chance to release the files during Joe Biden's presidency. I've not seen a single Democrat explain why they didn't. One suspects, that if there was anything implicating Trump of genuine wrongdoing, we'd have seen those files leaked long ago. House Democrats couldn't even muster the vote to censure Democrat Virgin Island delegate Stacey Plaskett, who exchanged text messages with Epstein during a 2019 congressional hearing. The whole thing is a farce. Republicans are no better. Attorney General Pam Bondi's embarrassing press gaggle, featuring some of the world's biggest influencers, waving empty Epstein files phase 1 binders around, left the administration with a mess that's now impossible to fix. The files, of course, will never be enough. There'll be hundreds of ghosts to chase. If conspiracy theorists don't get what they're after, they'll simply claim other files are being hidden. They'll demand grand jury files, which are being protected, as they should be by a judge. If Americans want to speculate on Epstein, that's their right. Maybe their theories will be proven correct. But long-standing norms regarding privacy and the presumption of innocence shouldn't be trashed by cowardly politicians every time the mob howls. Interesting piece by David Hersani. Your thoughts on that? When we come back, we're going to talk about some New York State issues. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking, and we will be, what time is it exactly? Right back.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
Who are you? Your lungs. We are proud of you for quitting smoking, but you still may be at risk for lung cancer.
A routine cancer scan can detect it early. Learn more at savebythescan.org.
Small businesses are the heart of America. Like you, these entrepreneurs started out with a dream and the drive to build a better life. If you have a small business idea to grow or challenge to face, you don't have to go it alone. Since 1964, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses. Today, they are the nation's largest nonprofit source of expert mentoring, resources, and education. Whether you're starting out, building back, or have worked at it for years, SCORE will match you with specialized mentors. Our thousands of volunteers provide the guidance and connections you need for free. Your success is waiting. SCORE is ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
Did you know we waste as much as 40% of all the food we produce globally? Did you also know that each year, millions of acres of wildlife habitat are plowed over, and billions of gallons of water is guzzled up to produce that food? And your wallet is taking a hit too. Americans toss out more than $382 billion worth of food per year. That's a lot of waste. But did you know that there are simple things you can do to help? And spread the word that food should never be trash. Visit us at wwf.earth.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. So many comments coming in, it's getting kind of difficult to read them all, which is a good problem to have. Let's get right to them. The Democrats can call for blood and chaos, and that's okay. But when a Republican calls for traitors, like the Democrats who called for our soldiers to essentially revolt, indicating that such traitors should be put to death, that's not okay. This is a type of political hypocrisy that makes me want to puke, writes that viewer. A comment from a different viewer they sent in the announcement. I saw this, or I shouldn't say announcement, the news story, that police have arrested a Virginia assistant principal and his brother for plotting to assassinate ICE agents. They also mentioned traveling to Las Vegas to meet with like-minded people. This was all caught on tape. John Bennett and Mark Bennett were both busted at Norfolk International Airport less than a week after they allegedly hatched the deranged anti-ICE plan. As it was mentioned here, they were en route to Las Vegas, where they allegedly wanted to meet with like-minded individuals and plan violence against immigration and customs enforcement officers. An off-duty officer with the Norfolk Police Department claimed he overheard the brothers 4 days earlier discussing how ICE agents are kidnapping individuals and that they need to do something about it while dining at a restaurant in Virginia Beach. So thank you for passing along that somewhat breaking news story. I do appreciate it. Comment from a different viewer. Mark says, I see that Gillibrand, our senator, is on TV cutting down Trump for not releasing HEAP money, saying instead he is giving the funds to his rich friends. That is totally bogus. But Trump told them funds for New York would be withheld because of their radical agenda. Thank you, Mark. I have not seen that ad yet. Comment from a different viewer. Jasmine Crockett, no relation to Davy Crockett. Her statement proves why nothing really gets done in Congress, because her saying she only had 20 minutes to look something over, that they're incapable of walking and chewing gum at the same time. Thank you very much. Rick writes in, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Rick. Well, might as well cut to the chase. Is Trump nuts? He says punishable by death, seditious behavior, threatens members of Congress with death after they posted an ad saying our military doesn't have to obey illegal orders. I don't see anything seditious about that. Then Trump posted 16 posts about wanting to jail and hang people. I'm going off here a minute. Trump needs to go to the loony bin. Trump is a raving, self-centered lunatic, period. He needs to be removed from his role and is becoming more stupid and bold every day. That's a dangerous combination. He runs around saying the economy is booming and it isn't. Ask Vance. Vance says there's a lot of work to do on the economy. Trump's approval ratings with the Republicans are at an all-time low. He runs around thinking everyone loves him. Wake up, Republicans. Trump has got us all into a disaster by worrying about foreign affairs and making deals for his family and billionaire buddies instead of doing what he said he would do. Put us first. I'm waiting. In the meantime, Trump is morphing into a full-time nut. Thank you, Rick. Comment from Ken writes in. Sorry, Ken, I'll read that in the next segment. I didn't have time to read it all through, but I'll read your comment in the next segment or any other comments that are coming in. Okay, so quickly about New York State. Hochul, they now, for whatever reason, I think they want, I know they want, the media and others want Bruce Blakeman to run against Elise Stefanik because of the money it would cost, the damage it would do to both of them. It would just make the victory for Hochul easier. So they want Bruce Blakeman to run. So they're giving him this credibility. He has not declared, but they're giving him this credibility. So they asked, now remember, he has not officially announced a run for governor, but yet they asked Hochul about him anyway and his decision if he decides to run for governor. Governor Hochul said, it doesn't matter how many Trump cheerleaders decide to run against me. I'm told the Republican Party wants to make sure that they have identified the most MAGA Republican who will serve Donald Trump if they become governor. So I look forward to having a very robust debate about who I'm fighting for. It's not Donald Trump. It's the people of New York. So they're trying to make Blakeman relevant. Again, just the pure, I know I've said this a lot of times, but the pure optics of telling people you can trust me with your vote for Nassau County Executive. You can trust me. I will do the job. I will work for you. And so the people go and say, all right, I'm going to vote for Bruce Blakeman. He's going to do the best job as executive. Then he wins, and what does he say? Never mind. I think I want to be governor now. So just at that level, I think it's very unfortunate. And I think it's very unfortunate to the people who put their hope, trust, faith in him to be executive. Now, today is the big Trump-Mamdani meeting. Asked by a reporter, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was asked what she thinks of the meeting. She said, we'll see. Obviously, the mayor-elect is going to be preparing for his inauguration. Of course, he's indicated that he's willing to sit down with anybody and everybody, so we'll see. I think we'll let Zoran lead. He's been elected to lead New York City. I trust him as the mayor-elect. He'll do what he thinks is best for the city of New York. We'll see how it goes. Now, we don't have any further detail about when the meeting is going to be held other than it is today. The New York Post editorial board is saying that Trump needs to remind Mamdani that New York City is not above the rest of the country. When President Donald Trump sits down with Mayor-elect Zoran Mamdani, he needs to remind him that American values and laws still hold in New York City. Protesting in front of a synagogue or any house of prayer and heckling and blocking entry is un-American and illegal, violating others' rights to freedom of worship, to assemble, to free speech, and much more. Yet the city saw just such an ugly spectacle Wednesday night outside of Park East Synagogue. We need to make them scared, one agitator kept saying. Mamdani's not yet in charge of the NYPD, but he needs to know that the Trump administration won't let thugs trample on New York City's civil rights. Long precedent allows federal troops to protect the civil rights of minorities. Trump should warn the mayor-to-be that he'll do his duty by his hometown if mobs keep assaulting synagogues in Mamdani's New York. The president could also stomp on all follow international law nonsense. The International Criminal Court has no jurisdiction in America. Saying you'll enforce its warrant for the arrest of Benjamin Netanyahu is a barely bad joke. However loud the applause the idea brings at DSA confabs, only an idiot would order the NYPD to battle with the federal agents who protect foreign heads of state. He should be waking up to basic facts, such as cities are legal creations of their state governments, and the states are subordinate to Washington. Mayors just don't get to make up their own laws. Does Mamdani love New York City, as he says? The president should remind him that running a city isn't about dorm room thought experiments. The job is first and foremost about collecting the trash and fighting the rats, teaching the kids and securing the streets and subways, and keeping the town open for business. Screaming tax the rich may satisfy the new mayor's fan base, but he's likely already realizing the risk of losing the 30,000 highest earning tax filers who already provide the city with 40% of its income tax revenue. We expect the face-to-face will also see Mamdani walking back his vows to be Trump's worst nightmare. This city relies on the feds for far too much to make this sustainable. The mayor-elect and all New Yorkers need Trump more than the other way around. Finally, Trump should instruct Mamdani in a fundamental truth of democratic politics. Opponents not only can get along, they have to, or everything falls apart. On that note, we got to take a short break. Then we got a couple other things. We got just kind of some quick pieces. Make sure you get your comments in here before we wrap up today's edition of Frankly Speaking, and we will be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Your tap water is delicious. I know, right? It's this Culligan Smart drinking water system. What do you think is going on in there?
I'm smelling a touch of chlorine.
Yeah, I'm detecting some PFAS.
I'm also getting notes of lead.
Perfection.
Sending it up.
Here we go.
Certified to reduce more than 70 contaminants. It's like having your own team of water experts. See the smart difference at Culligan.com.
Nearly 5 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust. Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International. Hundreds and horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
I'd imagine any tomorrow without you in it. So today I say, I love you. Get screened. Regular cancer screening saves lives. Visit cancer.org/getscreened to learn more.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Let's go to some viewer comments. One viewer writes in, why can't Trump just be more like Biden, waiting for the mailman with his mean dog while the auto pen runs the country? He's such a bully. Thank you very much. Comment from Ken. On The View, Marjorie Taylor Greene sounded like she likes the things Trump has done for the country, does not like what the Dems want to do with the country, and said she loves Donald Trump. The only thing she really said negative about Trump are the some things he says on camera and on social media. She said she wants to pull the country together and thinks everyone needs to work together for all America. I assume she is trying to be MAGA 2.0 without some of the personality associated with Trump. I also assume she has her sights set on a higher office and is working to get airtime on the opposition's media outlets, so her name will be somewhat associated with being anti-Trump in the sheeple's minds. She has in the past been known for her divisive rhetoric. I wonder how her personality would change if she was bashed 24/7 by the Democrats and legacy media. Thank you very much, Ken. Oh, did you see yesterday they're making, and this is making the media rounds, the CDC changed vaccine and autism stance after years of controversy. They're saying they did this to kind of echo RFK Jr.'s message. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has updated its website with a new stance on the potential link between vaccines and autism. The new wording on the CDC's site states, the claim vaccines do not cause autism is not an evidence-based claim because studies have not ruled out the possibility that infant vaccines cause autism. Studies supporting a link have been ignored by health authorities. The agency noted that the statement, vaccines do not cause autism, has been historically disseminated by the CDC and other federal health agencies in an effort to prevent vaccine hesitancy. So that is making the media rounds now that has been updated and changed. I got out of order here with my New York issues. I wanted to mention this really quickly. Democrats in the state legislature are preparing for a fierce debate next session over calls to reform a controversial 2017 criminal justice law that prevents youth offenders to being tried as adults. Yes, raise the age. There's going to be a debate over this. In Albany on July 4th, there was a lot of young people that were arrested, and people started saying maybe we should look at this differently. We have these gangs that are recruiting young members because they know they cannot get in any kind of trouble. It's ruined a lot of young lives. The law known as Raise the Age moved 16 and 17-year-olds out of adult court and increased criminal responsibility in the state to 18. Mamdani's newly appointed NYPD Commissioner, Jessica Tisch, strongly favors changing the policy, as do many district attorneys across the state. Tisch said, though I believe that the law was well-intentioned, we need now to roll up our sleeves and make adjustments to those laws based on the realities we are seeing on the ground. But as they said, it's going to be a fierce debate in Albany. I don't see many in the one-party rule of Albany changing their position on this. Now it says here, as Governor Hochul faces a tough re-election bid with Elise Stefanik, it's possible that NYPD commissioners and DAs could persuade her to amend the policy. Interesting. Okay, we got to take a short break. Then we're going to wrap up today's edition of Frankly Speaking. So get your last minute questions, comments, concerns in, and we'll be right back after this.
Hasselson's is more than just your local hot tub and swimming pool store. Did you know Hasselson's carries Oakley, Costa, and Maui Jim sunglasses? Hasselson's also carries Luminox watches certified by the U.S. Navy SEALs. Hasselson's has the new all-in-one Metal Ridge wallets, easy to carry and easy to use. Hasselson's also carries card accessories, suspenders, leather belts, wallets, and dog toys. Hasselson's also has over 400 styles of men's and ladies' work and western boots and hikers. Stop in today and see why after 70 years it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hasselson's.
Did you know that children growing up with poor air quality have smaller lungs and higher rates of asthma than children that grow up with good air quality? And unfortunately, poor communities have poor air quality. IQ Air Foundation is working to change this. Today, the IQ Air Foundation provides filtration technology to schools with poor air quality through our Clean Air for Kids program. Our goal is to help over 50,000 school children every year breathe over 90% cleaner air indoors, helping to level the playing field, reduce barriers to learning, reduce sick days, and increase test scores. Mitigating poor air quality is key to environmental justice. Help Clean Air for Kids reach more children at IQAirFoundation.org.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. This is a new one. We got a comment from a viewer. Listen to this. I agree with Rick a little tiny bit. But I'm grateful for Trump for a lot more than what the Democrats were doing. Perhaps Rick forgot about the left holding up ahead of Trump and calling for his execution, or the assassination attempt, or whatever. So thank you. Thank you very much for that, viewer. Comment from a different viewer. This is getting out of hand. It would be great to see Rick and Ken debating. There we go. Anyway, this comment from a viewer, just reading them. Where was I? All that threw me off. They're saying that the redistricting backfired on Trump, according to the Washington Post, that if you look at the numbers, at least for now, Democrats have a slight edge. Democrats, who once thought they would come up short in gerrymandering wars, are on track to net an estimated 5 seats. And while that could shift, they may still end up with an advantage by the time state legislators, voters, and courts finish weighing in. So they like gerrymandering in the beginning. So that comes as no surprise. All right. Douglas Murray says we shouldn't reward Russia with a peace that leaves Ukraine carved up and helpless. I guess there's a draft peace plan Russian officials have hashed out with envoys from Trump's administration, and is barely more than a complete Ukraine surrender. Ukraine will receive reliable security guarantees, it says, from who? Not Washington. Trump's been clear that the U.S. forces won't be drawn into that war. And no one in Europe has the ability to offer reliable guarantees. Most nations barely have armies at all. Meanwhile, the draft imposes all manner of specific losses to Kiev, give up its claims to Russian-occupied Crimea and other areas, include parts of the Donbas, and the Kremlin hasn't seized, agree to Russian control of now-occupied Kherson and Zaporizhzhia. I probably butchered that name. Let Moscow claim half the electricity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they're saying it's essentially an unconditional surrender. All right. Did we cover everything or what? Don't forget, today is the unveiling of the historic marker at Historic Dunn Field. Our friend Greg Tranter, who was on the program not that long ago, he will be there in attendance. He said, this is a terrific, untold Elmira story. The city was way ahead of its time. The NFL was still almost 2 decades away from being founded, and then it took the league another 50 years before it began to embrace night football. And once it did, professional football was transitioned into the #1 spectator sport in the country, and it all started here in Elmira. So 103 years ago to the day, November 21st, 1902, the first ever game of professional football was played after dark at what was then the Maple Avenue Driving Park, now Dunn Field. So that unveiling, the mayor's going to be there, Mayor Dan Mandel. That'll be today at 11:30 a.m. at Dunn Field. I hope everybody can make it out. Ken writes in as our final comments before we wrap up. So let's think about what Dem said. Our service members don't have to follow illegal orders, but our service members are bound by their oath to follow orders. Some orders could be clearly illegal, like harming unarmed, peaceful people, but others could be legal but very distasteful. If every service member is supposed to determine what orders are legal and illegal, there would be chaos in the armed services. What if the pilots flying the planes that carry the bombs over Nagasaki or Hiroshima refused those orders? Thank you very much, Ken. That's a very good point. Comment from a different viewer. Happy Friday, Frank. Well, happy Friday. I wonder what Washington would do if he had these dissenting morons, maybe? Sorry. Thanks anyway, Sergeant Dave. I didn't quite. I think there was a typo. Maybe I was just confused. But and I'm realizing we're running out of time, so we got to go. Thank you, everybody, who joined us. Everybody have a great... Oh, one last thing. That Dr. Jeffrey Epstein that donated to Lee Zeldin, I almost forgot to bring this up. Completely different guy than Jeffrey Epstein. He said that maybe after Crockett accused, kind of tried to pile him on with Jeffrey Epstein, he said, I think that I should contribute money to Jasmine Crockett and then let everybody know that she also took money from Jeffrey Epstein. That was his response to the New York Post exclusive interview. Have a great weekend, everyone, and we'll be back Monday morning starting at 6 for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Lather, rinse, moisturize, repeat, and repeat. But it never feels like enough. It's not your products. It's your water. Hard water leaves a mineral residue that clogs pores and dries out hair. Culligan water softeners remove damaging minerals, revitalizing brittle hair and dry skin. Upgrade your shower and skincare routine with Culligan, water you love.